Well, hello, my groovy people. It's another installment of Tim's Brick Adventures. And yes, it's Tim. Got my hair cut. We're going to a wedding this weekend, and I had the ultimatum. You will get your hair cut. So, to keep Mama happy, we obliged. So, I'm running a little late this week, as some of you have probably noticed. But we're going to get back on track. So there'll be a video out later today, and I'll be back on track next week, even though I will be in Philadelphia, or Exton, PA, a suburb of Philadelphia, helping set up the Brick Fair PA show, which is a new show for Todd. So hopefully some of you I might see, and I'm hoping to have a little more time to play around with the live video again. This won't be near as big a show, so I can actually walk around probably and knock out what's there pretty quick on a live show, and then we won't have a week's worth of videos. So anyway, I have decided to get back to roots, to what really inspired me with Lego in the beginning. And a big part of that is I had a comment from the Green Wizard back on the video that I did on Time Cruisers, and he said that since I had mentioned doing custom Western figures, he said, why don't you do a video on your custom Wild West figures? And so I thought, I have done one, so please, I'll put it in, or you'll see it in the links and stuff, of all how I do cowboys and stuff. But I think what he meant was my historic ones. So I'm going to go by show you all of them I did, and to the best of my ability, tell you where the parts came from. Because I've discovered a world of torsos and legs from a lot of different themes, and I cover that in that one video, but we'll kind of talk about it again. So I thought today I'd start with the initial figures. I'm constantly updating, adding as I learn about more historical figures, and learning about new ones. I mean, there's some great ones that I didn't know about. So I'm not going to bore you to death with a lot, every week going to be, but for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to touch on them, and then I'll kind of intersperse them. But this is what got me really fired up about Lego, and I saw, customizing figures. And I tried to, for the most part, take original Lego, actual Lego, torsos, faces, legs, and create as best I can. I mean, I literally sit there with the best historical picture I can find of any of these people, and the Lego, and go through the faces and stuff. And a lot of them I've had. Sometimes I have to order, but I want them as spot on as I can get them. So that was kind of my theme with it. So I want to share today just some of what I came up with. If any of you have seen my display at the conventions, I mean, you hear the spiel and I point out all these different people, but I've never really had a chance to just show each one and kind of explain a little bit. And my heart of hearts, what I really want to do eventually is do history lessons as part of, kind of a side video thing, utilizing different Lego scenes and these figures that I've made, and just give a little history of all the Wild West and all that. We'll see how much interest there is. I tell you, there's a lot of people starting to get into building with Wild West and doing stuff. I belong to the two Facebook groups, Lego Wild West and Lego Country and Western, I think it is. I will put links, but if you're into the Western at all, you see there's a lot of good people doing some really neat things. So, yeah, already 4 minutes into this and haven't done a thing. So I'm going to start out, and we'll talk about, today we're going to kind of go through the more mainstream, the ones most everybody hears about, because that's the ones I thought of first. And I will get into some of the, maybe depending on how my time goes, some of the more lesser known, but they figured very prominently into the Wild West and how it was developed and how we got to where we are today. So, I mean, a lot of these people, they had a part in it. So I want to honor that. Good, they're good, the good ones and the bad ones, because they all played a part in it. So with that, let's drop the camera down. Straighten her up here a little bit. Okay. So I know he wasn't typically a historical figure, but the very first character that I thought of to build was Zorro. And I don't know why. I just, I saw the parts. I think the legs are Ninjago. That torso is the Emperor. And I actually paid a little bit because that's one of the rare Emperor torsos. But I like the little silver clasp, and I just thought it added overall to the figure. I need to put a plume, and he may have had one at one point, but it might probably has fallen off. This guy has done a lot of traveling. He's seen a lot of country, but I'm very pleased with him, and he always has a very prominent place. Him and his horse. I can't remember what the horse's name, but I loved Zorro as a kid. There's a 70s movie. I love the Antonio Banderas movies. And the TV show, Disney did Zorro several times and different things. So he was a very prominent figure throughout TV and I believe books. That's probably where he came from. So he was the first. Then I believe, and probably more truth than anything, was Wyatt Earp. Because when you think of the Wild West, Wyatt Earp. He's kind of him and Wild Bill Hickok. Or at least for me. Others may have their favorites, but just because of the movies. Tombstone is one of my all-time favorites. As to its accuracy, they say it's pretty accurate, but I don't think it's quite as accurate. So neither here nor there, but so here is my Wyatt Earp figure. And about the time I made him is when this mustache came out. And so that's what really inspired me. I saw that mustache and I'm like, I got to make a Wyatt Earp figure. And he's pretty close. I mean, the mustache is a little exaggerated, but nevertheless, it's pretty close. And then that gun, best I could get to his Peacemaker, that long barreled that he had. That's about as close as I could get. And I believe that's a Brick Warrior gun. Could be Brick Arms too. I forget about. Brick Arms makes a lot of nice Western guns too. Let's see. This particular torso and legs, it came together. I believe is from the Lego Movie and the robot. It was a small set. You got two cowboys and a horse and a little plane thing, and I believe that's where he came from. Now I am basing this style of dress off of Tombstone more so than any historical thing. And what I may do eventually is totally design my own prints and then find somebody to actually print the torsos and stuff. And then I would have these figures that I could sell or do something with, but they would be, even more realistic. But for right now, this worked out really well to just stick with pure Lego. So it's all kind of based on Tombstone and the shootout, the OK Corral. So, that's what you think of, but he did a whole lot more. And if I do the history part, you'll see a lot more. But he had a lot of brothers, but the two that kind of figured prominently in the OK Corral was Morgan, and there again, this is actually Lone Ranger. I tried to give him a little bit different, but torso, and just to differentiate him. And then he had a pretty good mustache too, and I don't know, in the pictures it's hard to tell if it's lighter or darker, but I gave him a lighter mustache. But as far as the face and stuff, he's pretty close, pretty good. That pistol, I believe, might be actual Lego from the Lone Ranger series. And then their younger brother, that was Virgil, and this is Morgan, in case I didn't say. And a little bit different. He's got the Lone Ranger torso with just straight black legs. I mean, according to the shootout, they all had the long duster coats on, but you know, like I said, I just tried, and I didn't give him a big bushy mustache because in his picture, he doesn't have quite as big a mustache. They all had mustaches, and I think that was kind of the thing in that particular time era. Most of these guys you'll see have some kind of facial hair. So thought I did pretty good there. Doesn't figure into the OK Corral as much, but there was a James and Warren Earp, and I'm going to apologize because I don't remember who's who here. But I will say, if I looked at the pictures and stuff, they would. I mean, they kind of have the same facial look and the hair. Now, somehow I wasn't paying attention, I guess. But like I said, I try to find the most realistic or the closest I can to the face. So I'm not really paying attention to the skin tone or color. So one of them ended up having yellow, which I'm, you know, that's fine. I mean, yeah, this is more real. The flesh tone is more realistic, but I'd rather have the, and I may go back and try and find something more, because that's the thing. They're always coming out with new faces and stuff. And so I'd like to go back and kind of reconfigure some of these guys, because just, I want the absolute closest I can get. So then if you got Wyatt Earp and Morgan and Virgil, then you gotta have Doc Holliday. And I'm very happy with my Doc Holliday. Not sure where the face comes from, but that's pretty good, pretty spot on. I believe that is a Hobbit torso, and the gun comes from Brick Warriors. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Hobbit torso, but I'm very happy with the way he turned out. And then doesn't figure into Tombstone, but him and Wyatt were very good friends and had been together in Dodge City just prior to Tombstone. And he's Bat Masterson, he's very well known gunfighter, law enforcement, and he lived actually into the 1920s. So he wrote a lot of history and different things, but he had the big bushy mustache, and that is a Western. That's from the Lone Ranger. In fact, that's an actual fig torso, and the hat, I think, pretty much. And that, the whole figure might actually be a Lone Ranger one, just added the mustache to it. So, but pretty close on him. And let's see, so since we're kind of in that Tombstone time frame for this moment, I did a lot of characters, because there was a lot of figures that figured into that time frame. Oh, I guess while we're doing Wyatt, so I am not getting into the ladies more than this, but he ended up with Josephine, and that ended up being his wife until he died in the early 1920s. Actually, Wyatt Earp, he lived into the early 1900s. So and she's pretty good, pretty close. I'm not 100% sure. I think that's the gypsy skirt, and I honestly couldn't tell you where that top came from, but maybe that one of the Christmas sets. Let's see. So I was going to start here. So you had the Earps on one side in Doc Holliday, and then on the other, their enemies, or the guy they were against, and not to go into all of that, but there was, the Earps were the city marshals of Tombstone, and then the sheriff of the county, and I don't know, I can't remember what, Cochise County maybe, was a man by the name of John Behan. And he really, that face really looks good. If you look up John Behan, that's pretty close. And let's see, so we got Indiana Jones legs, and that's one of the old original Western torsos. So, and he had a vest. I mean, I don't know. He's pretty, you know, dapper. Had the bowler hat. That's the same way with Bat Masterson. When you see a picture of him, he has a bowler hat. So, I'm very grateful that Lego has the different colors and stuff. So then, this going to cut this off here. I didn't want to make this video too long, but it's going to be a little bit. So we may come to these. So I'm going to wrap this up. So in the actual shootout, there were Wyatt, Morgan, and Virgil, and Doc Holliday, and they ended up going against the Clantons, who, when you get into the real history of it, in Tombstone, they don't, Ike and Bill Clanton don't, they're just kind of, I don't know, just just thugs. But in reality, they were very prominent citizens in Tombstone, and Ike had a lot of notoriety and stuff. And so there was a lot of backstory. It was a lot of political stuff. But anyway, so there's Ike Clanton, and that, again, if you look him up in that face, that Lego just nailed some of these people. I mean, it's just crazy how. And that's an old West torso. The legs, actually the Lone Ranger. So, but it worked out really kind of nice, the coat and everything. So I was very happy with how he turned out. Billy was a little tougher, but that's not too bad. Again, Indiana Jones legs are very, very good for Western. I mean, the holster's not hanging on the side, so that's kind of little, but it has a holster. You'll find that the Star Wars, the Han Solo legs, various colors, and then the Indiana Jones make pretty good legs, but you don't really have a holster to work with. So, and this is a torso, one of the original Old West set torsos. So I was happy with the way they turned out. Two other brothers that figured into the shootout were Frank and Tom McLaury. Now, in the shootout, Ike ran away, and after pretty much starting it, if things are to be believed, but Billy got killed, and then you had Frank McLaury, who was killed that day. And like everybody, a lot of people said, he just looked like an old farmer. I mean, he really, not a gunfighter and all that, but he had his scraps, because the Clantons and stuff, they were known to be bank robbers and stagecoach robbers and rustlers. That was part of the problem too. But he's a pretty good match, the facial features of this head. I'm pretty sure his torso might be either Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter. The Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings, with the coats and the ascots and different things, make great Western torsos. And I believe the legs are from Lone Ranger. These are pretty plentiful with the chaps, and so you'll see a lot of my people have them, and understandably why. A lot of them, like doing cattle drive and stuff, they had those. And then we had Tom, who was the younger brother, and I think the face is pretty good. As far as his clothing, I just kind of had to pick something. This guy, I'm pretty sure both are from the Lone Ranger. Now, I'm not sure they were the actual torso and legs that went together, but they matched up pretty good. Like I said, my main concern with all of my figures was trying to get the head, the facial features to match up as best as possible. And then the last guy that was involved in that shootout that day was a guy by the name of Billy Claiborne, and he just basically was able to surrender without getting shot. And I think I had a hard time finding pictures, so I don't know quite how accurate he is. And the suit just kind of made up. The legs, actually, I believe, are Star Wars from the oh, the Bug People maybe. And then that torso is from Speed Racer. Speed Racer, another theme that you wouldn't even begin to think, but there are some great torsos with vests and coats and stuff. So Speed Racer, Harry Potter, and the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings sets, all great Western options for torsos and some legs, which you'll see in some of my other figures as we get down into it. I think, like I said, go back and look at it's one of the, like the second video I did. I really go in depth in a lot of the different parts that I use for my Western figures. But today it was suggested, and I thank Green Wizard for asking the question, because I was needing some themes for today. So I'm going to stop there, because that's quite a few. And I got just enough for another video, about the same size. And I talked a little more than you know me. So with that, I'm going to sign off, and y'all have a great weekend, and we'll be back at you next week on regular time. Thank y'all, and I can't thank you enough for all the support and love. You're the best. Goodbye, everybody.